All right, so we're gonna do completing the square, problem number 12. So this method, okay, I'm gonna try and follow the steps in your notebook. So the first thing, if we're using the steps in our notebook for this problem, is to get the constant on the other side. So we want to subtract 55 from both sides. So now we have x squared plus 16x, I'm gonna leave a little space here, equals 3 minus 55. Well, 55 minus 3 is 52, so that's negative 52, okay? All right, now my goal is to make this a perfect square. So if you're thinking about the problems we've done in class with algebra tiles, and you wanna make a perfect square, you have one x squared tile, and you have 16 x tiles. So we'd have to break them up and put 8 x tiles on this side of the x squared and 8 x tiles on the top. Well, and then we would have 8 by 8. 8 times 8 is 64. We would need 64 one tiles to complete the square, right? This number, 64, is always your b divided by 2 squared. That's like our magic number when it comes to completing the square. That's the number we always need to add, right, to complete the square. So if I go b divided by 2 squared, I get 64. So I'm going to add 64 to this side. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. Right? Now this is a perfect square. Right? So I can write this. What's our b divided by 2? Our b divided by 2, 16 divided by 2 is 8. I can write this as an x plus 8 square. X plus 8 squared equals 64 minus 52, it would be 12. Now we need to solve for x, so we need to square root both sides of the equation. Okay. The square root and the square root cancel out. We're left with x plus 8 equals plus or minus the square root of 12. That's not a perfect square, so I'm just going to write it like that for now. We need to subtract 8 from both sides, and x will equal negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 12. And I'm okay if you leave your answer in that form. Okay, we could simplify the radical because 4 times 3 is 12. So let me show you what that answer would look like. X would equal negative 8 plus or minus, all right, let's go up here and do some side work. The square root of 12 is equal to the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. The square root of 4 is 2. So we can rewrite the square root of 12 as 2 times the square root of 3. So our answer in simplified form would be negative 8 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3. And we got that by completing the square. Oh, it's blurry. There we go. We got that answer by completing the square. So that is our answer in exact form, not approximate, exact. Our solution would be an irrational number because of the square root of 3 here. So that means our solution as a decimal would never end and never repeat. Okay. So let's just recap what we did with this problem. The first thing we did is we subtracted 55 from both sides. Okay. The second thing we did is we found the number that would complete the square, and that's b divided by 2 squared. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So we added 64 to both sides of the equation. Now that makes a perfect square, an x plus 8 by x plus 8 square. Okay. Negative 52 plus 64 is 12. We had to square root both sides, then subtract 8 from both sides of the equation to get x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 12. I'm fine if you stop here. Okay, but if you would like to take it a step further and simplify the square root of 12, it simplifies down to 2 times the square root of 3. So our final answer in simplified form would be x equals -8 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3.